Hello everybody, Venom Lion here, and welcome to another reaction video about Halo 3 stuff. Now, the great, the amazing, the legend, the man, Phoenix Vax did it again, boys, and he created a playlist full of videos about Halo 3, so I will react to these. Again, links down in the description below if you want to see his playlist, and a huge thanks to him to have taken the time to create that playlist for me. Much appreciated, as always, man. Alright, so the first video that we have today is the Halo 3 video documentary, Journey's End. Without any further ado, boys, let's go.
They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me. Can you guess?
Big dick energy.
Luck.
Oh,
Let's
luck.
come back home.
Sure. Sure.
It's the return of Master Chief.
This is the end of our trilogy.
Yeah, a good
This is
end,
going to be
too.
the end of the story.
At the end of Halo 3, you won't just finish one fight, you'll finish all of the fights that you started in Halo 1.
This is a great story we're about to tell.
This is going to be the end of the fight.
And I truly feel like Halo 3 really succeeded in that. I know, like, at the end of my Halo 3 playthrough, I mentioned how it feels like there's less story in 3 rather than in Halo 2, which I kind of think it's still true to some extent, but I didn't mean anything negative by that. I mean, Halo 3 is the third act of a trilogy, right? And as such, like, you can't introduce, like, that many plot twists in the game. Like, it's meant to end, so you're wrapping up everything. So obviously it will be a bit less eventful than, let's say, the first title in the franchise or even the second. But the story's great, everything's tied up. I liked it a lot. So they did a good job with that, I find.
At its heart, Halo is a mystery.
Cortana, all I need to know is, did we lose them?
I think we both know the answer to that.
There are struggles going on in Halo that are larger and longer than you can possibly imagine.
We made a blind jump.
Interesting. That guy's title was Campaign Engineer. And in the last videos that I made reacting to the Halo 3 documentary, the term campaign designer was used, I'm assuming, to point towards like mission designers, quest designers, basically like a subcategory of level designers, which I am. So I'm assuming like campaign engineer is either a programmer assigned for campaign stuff, or it's kind of like a technical designer which does scripting and stuff like that for missions. So that guy might be a programmer or a designer. I'm not sure. Every studio, by the way, have a different way to give titles to their different jobs. And also, like, even the term level designer can oftentimes be very different from one studio to another. So,
How did they?
Get here first? The Covenant ships have always been faster.
It's a story of a human conflict with an aggressive adversarial species, the Covenant.
The Covenant is a collection of alien races that want to destroy humanity.
Man, we let those dumb bugs out to the middle of nowhere to keep them from getting their filthy claws on Earth. We're not gonna let them have it.
Oh man, it's been a while since I've played Halo 1.
Full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines? Sir,
Couple of months now.
Damn right I am.
Damn.
Now move it out. Double time.
You play the Master Chief, who is sort of humanity's last secret weapon against this marauding alien horde.
Captain Keyes.
Good to see you, Master Chief. Things aren't going well. Cortana did her best, but we never really had a chance.
First Halo is about the Master Chief's struggle against the Covenant on a ring world that they all call Halo.
What is that thing, Lieutenant?
Hell if I know, but we're landing on it.
The story of Halo 1 was really the story between you and your environment, this place that you were exploring.
According to the data in their networks, the ring has some kind of deep religious significance.
A big part of Halo is the relationship between Chief and Cortana.
Sleep well?
No thanks to your driving, yes.
So you did miss me.
Who is Cortana?
At least one of our writers refers to her as your girlfriend.
Cortana's every girlfriend that we've ever had.
You all right?
Never been better.
No, just kidding.
Cortana is A, naked, B, blue, and C, a hologram.
She's your little guardian angel.
Chief, I'm picking
She's
up
the original waifu.
Go right now.
She's sort of the one character who is as powerful as you are.
Get Cortana off this ship. Keep her safe from the enemy. If they capture her, they'll learn everything.
I understand.
Captain Keyes puts Cortana on the chip and hands the chip over to you as the player.
Good luck, Master Chief.
The Master Chief picks up the chip and puts it right in his head. That became an important moment in the relationship between the Master Chief and Cortana.
That whole feeling of she's in your head. You have no choice but to listen to Cortana.
This is it. Halo's control center.
She's the one who's figuring out how to unlock the doors in front of you, and she's the one who's coming up with the plans and telling you what to do.
There's no time. Get out of here, find Keyes, stop him.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because Cortana, from like a design perspective, is really used to like guide the player, like give some additional context to what's happening, and also like guide the players, etc. In Halo 3, when you don't have Cortana with you, Miranda kind of serves that purpose, like guiding you and talking to you and that stuff. And they really did a good job with Cortana because like voices like hers that are meant to guide the player and stuff can oftentimes be really obnoxious to players, because obviously like when you play a game as a player, you're like, oh, I got this, let me do my shit, you know? The truth though is that you need some guidance, right? Like level design is all about guiding the player without him knowing he's being guided, because you really want to make your players feel intelligent, powerful, adept at what they're doing. But in order to give them that, you need to design the level in such a way that suggests to him what he needs to do, but you don't really give him all the answers, you know? So it's a delicate balance. And when you have a voice like Cortana that guides the player, you need to be careful with it because like it can be too heavy-handed. A good example of that is Navi in Ocarina of Time, right? The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Navi is so fucking annoying. And then if you take it a step further than that, you have, I can't remember what it is, but I think it's the sword in Skyward Sword, like Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. The sword that you have, like the spirit of the sword or whatever, she's so hated because she's constantly stopping you in your flow and giving you the answers instead of just like giving you subtle hints and during gameplay, like not stopping the flow of everything. Like, you don't want to stop your players in their track. Like, you want to let them experience the game. You want to make them feel intelligent without ending them the answers necessarily. So I don't know. That's interesting. And Cortana to me is well done in that way because she gives you context. She gives you the narrative beats that they need to give the players at some times. But also she lets you play the game, which is super important.
Before it's too late.
But then that last 10% of the time, she doesn't know what to do. And then that's when you take over.
Even if I could get the countdown restarted, I don't know what to do.
How much firepower would you need to crack one of the engine shields?
As the story progresses, you learn that Earth is threatened not just by the Covenant, but also by a race of parasites called the Flood.
one of the most amazing video gaming moments ever is the introduction of the Flood.
Hold still! Hold still! Let him have it!
Yeah, I still remember that. That was a good moment.
God damn it, Jenkins! Fire your weapon!
Like when the small boys first swarm in the room, I remember I was like, oh shit!
Zombie that comes flying out of the closet.
It's a virulent strain of aliens that, as it kills, it grows, and as it grows, it kills.
No human life signs detected. The captain...
That's the start of the grave mine.
Halo 1 does such a brilliant thing. This is what the world is about. All of a sudden you meet the Flood, and the world, you realize, is about something completely different.
We can't let the Flood get off this ring. You know what he'd expect. What he'd want us to do. It's done. I have the code.
When the Flood comes out, I mean, the Covenant's just as much food as you are.
The Covenant's fighting the Flood, simultaneously fighting Earth, and you're fighting the Flood and the Covenant at the same time. It's like this crazy triangle of conflict.
And see, that's something they did very well too, because like it would have been easy for them to be like, let's say like in cinematics or in-game dialogue, to be like, oh, the Flood and the Covenant are not allies, right? They fight each other too. But they could have gone in a way that these two archetypes never meet in gameplay. I think that one thing that they do that really nails the fact that the Covenant and the Flood are really not allied is that they make them fight each other sometimes in the mission. Because like, you can tell your players anything you want all day long, right? Like, oh, these and these, they're not allied. But if you don't show it to them, it doesn't leave that much of an impact, right? So if you actually make them fight in gameplay, now the player will truly understand the ramifications of these two archetypes not being allied with each other. Gameplay first, always show things in gameplay when possible, because that's really effective.
The Halos were built to destroy the Flood.
The Forerunner built this place, what they called a fortress world.
The reason there's no more Forerunners is because they died fighting the Flood, and the Halos were like their last option.
The Flood is spreading. If we activate Halo's defenses, we can wipe them out.
Halo doesn't kill Flood, it kills their food. Humans, Covenant, whatever. We're all equally edible. The only way to stop the Flood is to starve them to death. And that's exactly what Halo is designed to do. Wipe the galaxy clean of all sentient life.
You're caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't kill the Flood without firing the rings, but you can't fire the rings without killing everybody else.
That's not going to happen.
Pretty much it's kind of a non-discriminatory weapon, you know, it's a hammer to kill a gnat, but you do something clever in the first game.
The Master Chief has managed to destroy the Halo itself so that it doesn't go off and kill everybody on Earth with it.
Which destroys the Flood infestation that's been unleashed and conveniently takes out your Covenant enemies at the time.
Halo, it's finished.
No, I think we're just getting started.
Hell yeah, we are. And that's interesting because like the way that they just like talk about the first game like that, it makes me realize how well the story is divided. Like in the first game, you introduce a new world, the concept of the Halos, right? You take your time with that. Then in the middle of the game, you introduce the Flood. The Covenants are introduced early in the game. And then you have this first adventure that comes to an end, right? And that makes a lot of sense. I truly feel that like in every game, they expand the universe a bit more to a point that it makes sense. I like what they did story-wise with the series so far. I haven't played 4 and 5 yet, and from what I heard, some people don't like those, so I'm really curious to play them, seriously. I'm really curious to make up my own mind about it. Can't wait for that, boys. Can't wait.
The opening scene of Halo 2 shows the Arbiter and his trial.
When you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty?
No.
Yet the humans were able to land on the sacred ring and desecrate it with their filthy footsteps.
The Arbiter screwed up pretty royally in Halo 1 by allowing the Master Chief to destroy the ring.
Your inability to safeguard Halo was a colossal failure.
He's standing before the prophets, and he's facing them for the game that he lost to you.
The Prophet of Truth, this hasn't gone on long enough. Make an example of this bungler. The Council demands it.
The real enemy? Well, it's those three kind of creepy dudes that you can tell are kind of pulling the strings.
3 prophets at the top of the covenant political chain: truth, regret, mercy. Truth is the man, and he is the last word when it comes to the covenant.
You were right to focus your attention on the flood. But this demon, this Master Chief...
The covenant is united under one religious banner, which is the belief that this great journey is at hand.
Soon the great journey shall begin. The weight of your heresy will stay your feet, and you shall be left behind.
He's immediately made an example out of. He's ripped of all of his rank and armor, and he's tortured. He's branded as a failure.
I really liked the Arbiter story in Halo 2. And thinking about it, this is something that I didn't think Halo would do. Well, in the first Halo, when I played it, I was really surprised by the concept of the Flood. In one of my Halo CE videos, I mentioned how surprised I was that the Flood was a thing, because like, I didn't know anything about Halo, right? And I didn't think that an enemy like the Flood would be featured in it. I don't know. I imagine it would just be the Covenant, like in Reach, right? So I was surprised about that. And then in Halo 2, I really dug what they did with showing another side of the Covenant, right? Getting deeper into the Covenant. I really liked that, and the Arbiter's journey.
It's at that place where the prophets come to him and provide him with an opportunity to redeem himself.
Become the Arbiter, and you shall be set loose against this heresy with our blessing.
The story of the Arbiter works at all. It works on this very personal level. I was once great. I was shamed. My responsibilities have been taken away from me. I'm going to prove myself.
What would you have your Arbiter do?
And so he becomes an assassin for the prophets.
We renewed our faith in the prophecy that other rings would be found, and see how our faith has been rewarded.
Truth has built up this religion around the Forerunner rings, and it's a completely false religion. What he wants to do is light the rings because he thinks he's going to become a god.
Halo, salvation for all.
And begin the great journey.
Also, like, there's something I want to mention about the Arbiter that I just thought about, right? It's interesting how they portray the Arbiter as kind of being like somehow an underdog. Like, he was like a great general and stuff, right? But then he was disgraced, and by the time the player controls him, he's in a situation where he doesn't have the power or the clout that he once had, you know? And that instantly makes him more likable, because like most of the time people tend to be drawn towards like the underdogs, the people who fail, who are trying to redeem themselves. That's something as humans as we can all relate to, right? Because we've all been the underdog. We've all had challenges to overcome. So the fact that they put him in that position, I think goes a long way to endearing him to players. I know it did for me, so.
We don't know what the Great Journey is, but we know that it's probably something pretty bad.
Yeah, no kidding. It's death.
The Flood is unleashed in Halo 2, and you realize that the Flood actually has a central governing intelligence, which is this huge creature called the Gravemind.
What
yeah.
Is that?
That thing.
I am a monument to all your sins.
The Gravemind is there to convince you to not fire the rings for his own selfish reasons.
Right.
Those who built this place knew what they wrought.
Truth wants to light the rings. Gravemind doesn't want to light the rings, and you have to pick one.
Fate had us meet as foes, but this ring will make us brothers.
By the end of Halo 2, the Chief and the Arbiter have the same goal. They're both trying to stop Truth from firing the ring.
Kill the demon.
Tartarus, stop. The prophets have betrayed us. Take care, Arbiter. What you say is heresy, is it?
People you once thought were your enemies are now your allies.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Which is pretty cool.
But if
we don't do something, Mr. Mohawk's gonna activate this ring. And we're all gonna die.
Artemis has locked himself inside the control room.
Well, I just happen to have a key. Come on, grab a banshee and give me some cover.
Hell yeah, I really like that moment.
The elites have rebelled, the brutes have replaced them.
The great journey has begun, and the brutes, not the elite, shall be the Prophet's escort.
There's internal war.
Hold your fire! The hunters have come to our aid, Arbiter. They will fight by our side. Yeah.
Truth thinks the moment of the great journey is about to happen. And the chief is chasing him, trying to stop whatever this madman is doing.
That structure in the center of the city, it's a Forerunner ship, and Truth is heading straight for it. If he leads the Covenant...
No, man, watching that reminds me how good Halo 2 was.
I'll detonate in Emberclad's reactor, just like we did the Autumns.
It's a real shame that Halo 2's development was hell a bit there at the end, because, like, I did feel really in love with Halo 2 at the beginning. Like, the first half of the game was so solid, so good, I was in love. But then, like, the more the game progressed, the more I was like, oh, okay, like, that mission was alright, so it's kind of a shame a bit, but still a great game. Enjoyed it a lot.
No, I don't want to chance a remote detonation. I need to stay here.
The chief is separated from Cortana for the first time since you first put her in your head in the beginning of Halo 1.
Yep. After I'm through with Truth.
Don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it.
Leaving Cortana behind was the big emotional moment for the Master Chief in Halo 2. Cortana is in the clutches of the Gravemind, and the Flood is loose.
I will ask, and you will answer.
All right. Shoot.
Worst of all the Halos are primed to fire.
In the event of unexpected shutdown, all remaining platforms are now ready for remote activation.
A lot of disasters are looming.
Truth is in his Forerunner ship, and the Master Chief is stowed away in the back.
This is Spartan 117. Can anyone hear me?
Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
Sir, finishing this fight.
What a line,
the chief
though.
has a lot of problems at the beginning of Halo 3. The Flood is out, an unstoppable parasite that's capable of wiping out all life in the universe.
All of the Halos are primed and ready to fire.
Oh, and you left that woman that you care about? Yeah, you left her in the clutches of the Gravemind.
Chief, I can't trust you anymore. It's not safe.
Cortana.
Nice job.
Cortana is giving us cryptic messages.
Could you sacrifice me to complete your mission? Could you watch me die?
Is she sending us a warning? We don't know what's happened to her since then.
I'm really curious about what all those things were, and also I'm curious to know if, like, the time Cortana spent with the Gravemind will have changed her in any way in the next Halo games. I know, like, the next game that will be released in the MCC is Halo 3 ODST. I know Chief is not featured in that one, I think. I've heard that it's the first game in the series that does not feature Master Chief. So I'm really curious about that game. But also, like, starting Halo 4, like, I'm curious. I don't know where the storyline goes, right? And please don't tell me, don't spoil me. I will make blind playthroughs of those games when they come out and have fun discovering it. But, like, I'm really curious, like, where the story could go from that point. So if I try to guess, all right, and this is me trying to guess a bit. So the narrative threads that are available at the end of Halo 3, Chief is lost in space, so he could find a new tech on another planet or something, find a new system with a bunch of new rings or anything like that. We could find more stuff about the Forerunners. The Forerunners are still a big mystery. They have hinted at the fact that the humans and the Forerunners are connected, that the humans are the children of the Forerunners. So the Forerunners could be explored in Halo 4 for sure. For sure. Also, potentially, like, feature a new protagonist or, like, somebody that Chief trains alongside him. Like I have a sidekick of some sort. Maybe like the Arbiter. The Arbiter story feels pretty much done though, so I'm not sure how deep you could go with that. But yeah, those are the narrative threads that I'm thinking about now that could be featured in Halo 4. I can't wait to see if I'm right on those. We'll see. We'll see.
You will be the protectors of Earth and all her colonies.
The Covenant has absolutely destroyed parts of Earth. Millions of people have died.
And the Prophet of Truth, the guy you didn't whack last time around, he's now in charge of this army of giant gorilla ape rhinos that's tearing
those
through your
animations,
stuff.
man.
You gotta shut him down too.
For your destruction is the will of the gods. And I am their instrument.
The elites and the brutes are having a civil war, destroying everything that the Prophet of Truth doesn't. And the keys to the Doomsday Machine are in the hands of a madman who thinks it's some sort of religious gateway.
In a moment I will light the rings, and all who believe shall be saved.
Your job in Halo 3 is the absolute salvation of humankind and the rest of the galaxy. No more, no less.
Humanity is sort of down to its last defenses.
There's this overwhelming feeling of desperation.
This is either the best decision you've ever made or the worst.
All you can do is strap on your weapons and go to work.
Until we kill Truth, stop the rings from firing, nothing else matters.
I wonder also, like... Oh, there's only 30 seconds left on the video, so you know what? I'll keep my thoughts for the end.
This is gonna be hard, even for a 7-foot-tall super soldier. This is gonna be tough.
Tower 1 approach has active... Mayday! I can't control her! Pelican down!
Man, Halo 3 was so fun.
We'll make it.
Yep. Like, it's been a few weeks now since I've finished 3, right? And I think it's my favorite in this series. The gameplay was amazing. I really fucking dug the open world, not open world, the open zone design, like the sandbox, the design approach that they had. Just the best, man, in my humble opinion. Yeah, so what I thought there was... it's interesting because you control the Arbiter in Halo 2, right? Because it's his story. And you obviously don't play as the Arbiter in Halo 3. And I wonder if it would have been nice to control him in Halo 3. I think I get why they didn't make like an Arbiter level. Just because like... his fight was pretty much done, but there's the part where he kills Truth, right? Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I think like having a mission where you control him a bit, maybe during the mission, the Covenant would have been cool, just to give him the satisfaction to reach the kill. I know like in co-op you control him, so that's pretty neat. Like he does have a role in the story. So for co-op, that's really neat. He's also like alongside you in the fight a lot. But like I just had this wild idea of like, what if during a level you switch between him and Chief a lot, you know, like not necessarily him having a level, but like having moments in the level, let's say during the Covenant mission, right? Maybe like during the last push towards Truth, you control him. I don't know. Overall, like probably would have been too costly and required too much work for what it would bring to the story. It's an interesting thing to think about. And overall, I still think 3 is very good the way that it is. So yeah, that was an interesting video. It's just like Journey's End. It's just reflecting on the trilogy as a whole. Yeah, man, what a fucking journey. I can't believe like just a few months ago now, I had no idea what a Halo was. And now like I'm here. Basically, I only have like Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2. And Halo 4 and 5 left to play. Like, I've played half of the franchise. That's gonna be it for today, guys. Big thanks to Phoenix Vax again for that wonderful playlist. Link to the playlist down below. In the next few days, I will continue to react to those videos. All right, so don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be seeing you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.